Harley Quinn is one of the most popular characters at DC Comics, and over the years, she's appeared in a lot of cartoons and comics and movies and video games and so much more. So here are just a few of my favorite interpretations of Harley Quinn, in no particular order. But before I jump into it, I want to make something very clear. These are my personal opinions. It is okay if you disagree with me. I am fairly positive that there is going to be at least one Harley Quinn that you really like that I do not talk about in this video. And I'm honestly also sure that there's going to be some Harley Quinns that I like that I talk about here that you personally do not like. That's totally fine. We are allowed to have different opinions. So let me know about them down there in the comments below. Okay, look, the OG Harley Quinn from Batman the Animated Series is the gold standard for the character, as it's here where she first appeared. Fun fact, between Batman the Animated Series and the new Batman adventures, Harley Quinn only appeared in 15 episodes, which is shocking considering just how popular she's gotten over the years. While the Joker is a great villain, the added dynamic of Harley brought his presence to a whole nother level. Voice actors Mark Hamill and Arlene Sorkin were both so talented that every scene they shared together was an absolute delight. Additionally, Quinn's brief cameo as an old lady in Batman Beyond: Return of the Joker, which side note is the best Batman movie ever made, don't at me, gave fans peace of mind knowing that she lived to a ripe old age, free of the Joker's abuse. Sadly, Harley in the animated series mostly exists just to be an accessory to the Joker, but the episodes that are more focused on her are some of the best the series has to offer. This depiction laid the groundwork for all future adaptations, and by doing such a great job with her first appearance, it's inevitable that this is the version of the character that all future versions are going to be compared to. I also want to give a shout out to the first incarnation of Harley from the comics, since it was a pretty one-to-one translation of her from the animated series, which makes a lot of sense considering that her debut story, appropriately named Batman Harley Quinn, was written by her creator on the show, Paul Dini, who also wrote her in the excellent Gotham City Sirens series. Whether it be cartoon or comic, Dini's portrayal of Quinn is absolutely one of my favorites. In 2018, DC Comics started their DC Black Label imprint, which aimed to tell more mature stories in self-contained limited runs. With how oversaturated she's gotten over the years, I wasn't expecting Harleen to be as good as it was. In my personal opinion, this is the best Harley Quinn comic that was ever written, and topping it is going to be a major challenge. Harleen is an alternate universe book telling the origin of the character. Dr. Harleen Quinzel works at Arkham Asylum on a project researching how the fight-or-flight response affects empathy, and how that could be what leads to sociopathic tendencies. In most Harley Quinn media, her origin story isn't dived into in such great detail, and here you can really see the slow progress of how the Joker manipulated Dr. Quinzel into falling in love with him. Plus, we get to see a lot of her personal life. No family living in the area, she's isolated from her colleagues because of a scandalous affair with one of her college professors, and she only has one actual friend. Her frequent problems sleeping led to a drinking problem, and most of her human contact comes from the worst of society. Especially knowing where Harleen Quinzel ultimately ends up, this descent of her falling in love with the Joker is like a slow-motion car crash that you can't look away from, and the freedom of having more adult tones and language really grounds the character, making her feel a lot more like an actual person, and in a scary sense, a lot more relatable. I really do feel like it's the Arkham series that marked the major transition from the classic jester to the more sexualized version of Harley Quinn that we see today in most media, which means that her portrayal in these video games is probably the second largest influence on the character ever. That's why it's fitting that Paul Dini handled the writing for the first two video games in the franchise, and Arlene Sorkin came back to voice Harley in the first game before being replaced by Tara Strong in later entries. For me, Strong's Harley voice can get a little too squeaky at times to the point of becoming obnoxious, but I still think that she does a solid job of embodying the character and really nails the more gritty tone that the video games are going for. Outside of being the sub-boss for Joker-related stuff in the Arkham series, there was also a DLC story mission for Arkham Knight where you actually get to play as Quinn. I really enjoyed her playstyle, emphasizing acrobatics and making those stealth segments harder since her takedowns make a lot of noise, especially when compared to the other playable characters in the series. You really get a good feel as to what a Harley Quinn solo game could look like, with lots of brawling and jumping around. If a developer could combine that gameplay with specials involving Harley's hyenas, friends, and/or henchmen, then I think that they would have a perfect beat-em-up on their hands. Oh, and there could also be a roller derby minigame or something. Okay, I might have gotten a bit off track. Anyway, the Arkham prequel comics shows us that this version of Harley Quinn didn't instantly break the Joker out of Arkham. Instead, she adopted the persona in order to terrorize Batman while the Joker was still locked away. It's a different way of doing things, and I think it actually works pretty well. Though, I really wish that we got to see more of what this Harley's deal actually is. Fingers crossed that we'll get another Arkham game and find out. Batman White Knight was an alternate universe book from 2017 that took me by surprise by how good it was. And one of the cool things it did was that it addressed the differences between the classic Harley Quinn and the modern version by making it to where they are two separate people in this universe. The first one is your usual Harleen Quinzel, the doctor at Arkham Asylum turned criminal after the Joker seduced her. However, when the Joker kidnapped and nearly killed Robin, Harley tried to stop him and left because of it. Later, when he was robbing a bank, Joker encountered a woman named Marion Drews, who in his delusion, he thought was just the old Harley, and she kind of just went with it. White Knight revolves around Joker getting cured of his madness and now tries to use his intellect in order to save Gotham from all the brutality and property damage caused by Batman. Harleen came back into his life and tried to be a force of good to help him along this path. Marion, on the other hand, wants the Joker personality back, and she adopts the persona of Neo Joker, thinking that his old persona would be very pissed off that someone else was trying to surpass him. Both of these characters are so freaking good. Harleen and Jack work so well together as a couple, and Neo Joker is a great villain with an equally great costume to boot. Plus, the conflict between the two Harleys is something that we've never seen before, and they work as good foils to one another. Plus, White Knight is just a great book in general, so if you haven't already, I highly recommend picking it up. I'm not much of a fighting game fan, but I really do love the Injustice series and the world that it set up. While the games are chock full of fun character moments, I really think the series shined its best in the comics that cover the 5 years before the events of the first game. I especially love the first 2.5 years that were written by Tom Taylor, who is one of my favorite comic writers of all time. Now, the Harley Quinn stuff throughout the Injustice series is consistently good, but Taylor's writing is top tier. He really seems to get Quinn's characterization, and issue 5 alone is full of some really great jokes back to back to back. It also laid the groundwork for Harley Quinn's dynamic with Green Arrow and his group, with Harley becoming so integral to his family that she essentially becomes the godmother to Ollie and Black Canary's son. That being said, Injustice Harley Quinn isn't all jokes. She grows into a valuable member of the insurgency and is a competent leader of the Joker Underground. We also get to see a lot more of her toxic relationship with the Joker, including the bombshell that she's actually a mother, and she had to hide their daughter from the Clown Prince of Crime. To make things worse, when Harley left the Joker's side for a year in order to have their kid, he didn't even act like she had gone anywhere when she eventually returned. Though I will have to deduct points from the very weird relationship that Quinn has with Shazam. I mean, spying on the kid in class, posing as his mother in order to pull him out of school, and all of that sexually charged dialogue when they're fighting is pretty damn gross in my eyes. But besides all of that, I seriously do recommend giving the Injustice books a read if you get the chance. Okay, I'm probably going to get a lot of flack for this in the comments, but the Harley that's seen in the Harley Quinn animated series on DC Universe is probably my favorite version of the character of all time. Much like Harleen, by allowing the characters to freely swear and generally be dark people, I think we get more accurate depictions of what these characters would look like in real life. Like, seriously, are you trying to tell me that bad guys wouldn't be dropping F-bombs on a regular basis? But what sets this Harley apart from other more dark interpretations is that this series is a comedy before anything else. Harley Quinn is a jokey character, and letting her shine with comedy is the best way to use this character in my opinion. I also think that the style of humor that Quinn has in this series is dark and comedic, but it doesn't get so over the top that it becomes obnoxious like a character like Deadpool. It's a very hard line to walk, and if written badly, then this Harley Quinn would be very, very annoying. And although I do understand that wacky off-the-wall humor is really entertaining for some people, I never really got into it. This is a big reason why the modern Harley Quinn comics never really appealed to me. Also, voice actress Kaley Cuoco does a fantastic job of portraying Quinn, bouncing between goofy, threatening, and even sad in a way that's wholly unique from the character's previous actresses. I know that the New York accent is a classic, but Cuoco's depiction fits Quinn equally well in my eyes. I'd rather have no accent than a bad one. Quick side note, we have a god-awful restaurant here in Texas called Magic Time Machine, where the staff staff dresses up as various fictional characters. I can rant about the various reasons why I hate this place with a burning passion for hours upon hours, but when I was recently dragged there, we had a Harley Quinn as our waitress, and her fake accent was so bad that it was just painful to listen to. So if given the choice between a poorly done but more authentic to the original character New York accent or a well-acted new take, I'll take the latter in a heartbeat. Now, admittedly, this show is still ongoing at the time of this recording, so it could very well turn into a complete shit show, but the writing, character dynamics, clear love for the source material, and legitimately touching moments at times makes this show an absolute gem for me. And I seriously do think that this is my favorite Harley Quinn, and I will die on this hill. So there you go, 5 of my favorite Harley Quinns. Maybe you learned about 1 or 2 that you hadn't heard of before, and maybe you want to yell at me because I didn't include your favorite. Again, let me know all of that down there in the comments below. But if you like this video, then why not consider subscribing, or even watching another one? And if you liked this, well, then chances are you really like Batman. So thankfully, I have a playlist with all of my Batman videos in one convenient place. Maybe go give some of those a watch if you're interested. But anyway, I hope you learned at least a little something new, and hopefully, I'll see you next time.